Eric Ramsey. Andy?
Eric, congrats on the 3 points. What were your overall thoughts on the match?
I think it's difficult for me to stand here or stand in front of the players after the home games that we don't win, but we play well in and look like the team that we want to look like, and then stand up here today and say performance is irrelevant and we've got 3 points and we move on, because that's not how we want to win games at home. We want to be the dominant team. We don't want to feel like we're on the back foot for large periods, which was the case today. But I do feel like the slight caveat is probably that when you do score as early as we score, it's then suddenly very difficult to go again and be the front foot team, and then suddenly when we're 2-0 up, it almost feels like we sink and we're in a protect the lead mode, which is not the way in which we want to play. I think we largely benefited in the opening stages from the way in which we set up, but then it became very clear after half an hour or so that we were sort of really struggling to get to grips with the system defensively. So I was glad that we were able to hang on to half time, make some changes, and I think we looked far more solid in the second half. And albeit we didn't have the amount of possession that we wanted to have, we didn't have the control of the game that we wanted to have. I think when you look back in the sort of cold light of day and you pour over the statistics, we did limit them to very little. So I'm pleased in that sense that we've got a nice default that we can fall to if we're not playing well, that we can shut up shop to an extent, but obviously we don't want to be that team too many times again here.
Was there any disadvantage to scoring that early?
No, again, it's a double-edged sword, because I've stood here a couple of times recently and talked about starting the game quickly, and we couldn't have started the game better than we did today in terms of intensity and real conviction and being decisive. So I was really pleased in that sense. But we've been on the other side of that, where the opposition score relatively early, and then we suddenly we're allowed back into the game by just that human nature is to suddenly sink a little bit and start to protect. So if there is a disadvantage, it's that. But I think I was really pleased with the start, because that's what we wanted to do here. We wanted to start quick and make teams feel uncomfortable. So it's in some senses a big step forward. In another, there's a couple of areas where you look and think it's a step backwards. So we've got to be balanced in how we look at it.
That set piece, was that kind of off the training ground? Did you want to see that flick on header?
Yeah, we've made a big point on set plays over the course of the season. It's something that we as a club will be strong on. We're not, I suppose, the most blessed from the perspective of real height and physical presence across the team, but I think irrespective of that, you can find a way to create chances from set plays, and we've done that in the last couple of games, and that's been again another real step forward.
What was the message to the team did you kind of alliterate to, or kind of allude to what you were trying to say to the team about kind of performance versus results? Yeah,
that's been the message at the end. I don't want to contradict myself by when we lose talk about performance, and when we win only talk about result, because I think that is an unhealthy way to approach the entire season. So what we will do is look back at where we've taken steps forward, but we will make a big point of why we weren't the team that we want to be at home, which is much more proactive and much more dominant.
At the end of the first half, Kansas City looked like they were getting balls over the top. Was that addressed at halftime? And if not, what else was it talked about?
Yes, obviously we've made 2 changes at halftime, change of shape at halftime. A big part of it is to do with how well you can get pressure on the ball, and we, after say 15, 20 minutes, found it very difficult to do so, and I think that's the nature of playing in the way we played with 2 forwards. Sometimes you do find it very difficult to cover the width of the pitch once you get pinned in a little bit, which was the case for us. So we fortunately managed to get to half time, and we obviously made a couple of changes which were to the benefit of the team. We're also obviously here the beneficiaries of a phenomenal set of fans that can really drive the team home, which I felt was genuinely the 12th man today. I think we probably wouldn't have got through it without them behind us, and I think the fact that the opposition turned us around at the beginning was probably to their downfall by the end, because it did feel like once we'd sort of bedded in for the last 10-15 minutes that they were going to drive us home. So that was really pleasing.
How did you feel about Tenny and Teemu together?
I think we got the benefit in some senses early on in the game, but then this is no doing of the players that we ended up taking off at half time in any way at all, and I stressed that to them. It was much more to do with the system as opposed to individual performances, and I think obviously as I mentioned, sometimes with the front 2 it's easy to get pinned in. You can't cover the width of the pitch well, so that was pretty evident after say 20 minutes. So we wanted to make sure that we were proactive in changing, and I think once we made those changes that we were able to get better pressure on the ball, albeit we didn't have our share on it. We did definitely restrict them in the second half, and I don't think they created many chances that were of genuine quality, and I think the stats would show that.
It looks like Peter Vermees was held up the tablet showing the offsides, what he felt was offsides on Tenny's goal. What were your views on that?
I've only seen the replay on the stadium screen, and it did look very close. I don't know which way right, which way wrong, but yeah, I'm sure over the course of the season you'll get an even balance of some that go for you and some that don't. So we were fortunate today.
Did you come close at all playing Hassani or Sangbin?
No, Hassani was a little bit further behind than we would have liked for him to have been, and then Sangbin, and understandably, sort of just from a physical and mental perspective, wasn't ready to come into the squad today. So we'll welcome him back on Monday.
What did you feel about the kind of combination play to set up that second goal to kind of probe to find something?
Yeah, that was really good. I think obviously when you play with two forwards and you've got the midfield players that we've got, then you have a tendency to be able to open the middle of the pitch up well. I think you saw that in that goal. That was really well worked, really patterned, and it was a shame that sort of on scoring that second goal we sort of did what we did and found ourselves sank back and not able to reproduce that more often. So that's a frustrating thing for me today, because I did feel like after that first 15 minutes that we were going to get a really complete performance, which for multiple reasons wasn't the case in the end.
I know you're just coming off of this game, but how do you look at kind of the first half dozen games for you in charge here?
Yeah, they've been obviously really interesting from my perspective. It feels far longer than just that number of games, and I've learnt loads of lessons in that time as to how to deal with the league, how to deal with our players, who does what well, who works with who well. So I think now after 6 games, I've sort of got no excuses in that sense. So hopefully we can set the team up more often than not with a real chance to win. And when we don't, it won't be for want of trying. It won't be for want of sort of being really thorough in how we set up and being really proactive in how we use the squad that we've got available to us. And I think that was another pleasing thing today, that we've managed to get through the game, making the number of changes that we've made. And you've seen Carlos come off the bench and make his debut, and we've again used the squad to good effect. So I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways for me, that we can be proactive in that sense. And as I said, we've got a nice sort of baseline level of the group without having loads of superstars. We've got a really good group to work with, and you see really honest performances from them more often than not.
Who was that from the Ramsey family that got the goal there at the end?
It was my son. I thought he was going to miss at one point. He was on the line, but he loved it. It was a moment that he's probably been waiting for. So that was really nice for me and the family.
On the Harvey sub, was it just his performance for the twos, or was there more involved with including him today?
Well, yeah, of course that contributes. I think you're sort of waiting for people in his position to really sort of put their hand up and say, it's impossible to pick me, to not pick me and not involve me from this point onwards. And I think obviously that contributes. He's also had a sort of longer than we would have liked path toward finding full fitness. So that's sort of credit to him that he's managed to do so in the last say 3 weeks or so. He's been training with us more often, and we're sort of waiting for a chance to get him in. And I think he came in at a difficult stage of the game and handled himself really well. So nice for him to get the debut out of the way.
What happened with Clint?
Clint picked up a bit of a groin strain yesterday, so just sort of more precautionary than anything. So yeah, probably not too big a one to worry about, I wouldn't have thought. Good. Thanks, gents.